So I would argue that these fragrances are only popular solely because they pull compliments. Now that might sound like a dig or some form of disrespect on these fragrances, right? Because I'm saying, oh, they're only good because they get compliments, but it's not intended to take it that way. Some people might get upset. I really don't care. I think it's true. These have gone as far as they have because people realized that they were onto something. They would spray it on, they would wear it to work, they would wear it out. People would comment on it in a positive light. And then, like word of mouth, started to spread. And then now everybody is trying to pick these up because they know that they work well and they get people talking. Really, to be fair, I think these are all great scents. They're all fantastic in their own way, but they definitely have that special something about them that really works well with the general public. So if you're someone who likes compliments and maybe you're not afraid of blending in somewhat and kind of smelling similar to other things, but in a way to get positive feedback, then you're going to like these selections here. These are probably nothing new, but you know, that's kind of the name of the game when it comes to popular things that get compliments. So I'll drop these down below in the video description, some links if you want to pick them up at below retail pricing. We'll get things kicked off with, well, a very obvious one. Creed AVENTUS. Well, at least to me and to a lot of you, it's obvious. I think this one has reached a level of popularity outside of the community as well. I know several people that I've talked to in real life when they kind of ask what I do, and then with that always comes, okay, well, you know, what's something that gets a lot of compliments? What's something that's really popular? What is something that's one of your favorites, right? Oftentimes, AVENTUS is one of the first ones that pops into my head. Right, because you get that question a lot, whether you have a YouTube channel or not. If someone hears that you're into cologne or fragrance or whatever, they're going to be asking you what's going to work, what's some of your favorites. And so, believe it or not, Creed AVENTUS is one of my favorite fragrances ever. I love this stuff. It is one of my most worn scents out of my entire collection. And before people want to start to doubt me because this bottle looks a little bit full, this is one of many. I have several. And I've worn through a ton of this stuff. I mean, this isn't even all of it, but this is AVENTUS, right? I've got a ton. I wear it all the time. Here you go, because, yeah, I got AVENTUS for days. I love the stuff. I'm not posing on that front. And with that being said, the AVENTUS clone market has absolutely exploded over the past several years. There are so many options to choose from that come in at a fraction of the cost that the real Creed does. Retail-wise, for Creed AVENTUS, you're looking at mid to upper 400s, $450, $460, maybe $495. I can't even remember. It's gone up pretty consistently over the past few years. I don't recommend you paying retail. If you want to buy a bottle of it, discounters are the only way to go. Some spots you can get it for just a touch under $300. It's still a lot of money, but that's kind of how it is. And so when it comes down to it, you have options, right? You can go for Club de Nuit Intense Man, you can go with Mont Blanc Explorer, you can go for some of the Al Haramain alternatives. There is a laundry list of AVENTUS clones. And so those clones have also made it out into the real world as well. I personally have recommended Armaf Club de Nuit Intense Man to several people who weren't in the fragrance community but were asking me for some affordable things that pull compliments, because that honestly is just an option that works. And I'm spending too much time on this one. I'll move through these quicker, but in a roundabout way, what I'm saying is this AVENTUS DNA, which came out in 2010, has rose to the top solely because, or at least very much in part of the fact that it is a huge compliment puller, easily one of the biggest out there. You got to give it credit where credit's due. All right, let's kind of work through these here. Versace Dylan Blue is up next. Blue Fragrance DNA. Now, one thing I'll say with this one is it rose to the top because of the compliment factor, the mass appeal, but in combination with, in my opinion, the price. Now, generally, when it comes to people outside of the community, a lot of them are buying at full retail, straight off the counter at Sephora, Ulta, Macy's, whatever, right? They're walking in there, they're trying it, they're buying it out the door, walking out, spending 80, 90, 100 bucks, right? A lot of people don't realize that you can get these 100% authentic at discounters for right around 40 to 45 for a 100 mil. You can get these giant 200 mils for mid 60s. It's a great price per mil. But anyway, I think people who know about that have also really contributed to the fact that this one is so popular. When you look at pretty much any big discounter, this is when you sort by best selling, this is on one of the first couple of pages, and that's pretty big. I mean, think about it. There's so many fragrances out there that are best sellers, and this is now one of them. And because of that price point, it's so competitive, it worked. But I also don't think it would have gotten there if it would have smelled like oud or something, you know. So it definitely has that mass appeal going, which really did a lot of the work for it in retail settings. But then when you can also get this at discount settings for $40 to $50, it's icing on top of the cake. This is a huge fragrance, and there's a couple reasons why, but I'd say the compliment factor definitely contributed to that as well. Next up, we have Ralph's Club Parfum, but you could also easily put in the Eau de Parfum, which is the originator and all of that stuff. This one's got lavender, apple, and clary sage in here. You know, essentially it is the more refined and updated version of the original. And so I would say if you're going to buy Ralph's Club and you want the more mass-pleasing version instead of going over to the new Elixir, then go for the Parfum. I would say with the Parfum being out and with the Elixir being out, the Eau de Parfum is kind of obsolete now. You know, again, the Elixir is a little bit more sweet, still mass-pleasing, but it does kind of shift away from the DNA a little bit. If that's what you want, great. But if you're looking for mass-pleasing Ralph's Club, skip the Eau de Parfum, pay a little tiny bit more, and go for the Parfum. Has a little bit of that YSL DNA, a little bit of that aromatic, kind of sweet, tonka bean, ambery, ambroxany thing going on. That's kind of how it is, but it's still clean, it's still easy to wear, and still a very, very strong people-pleasing DNA. Next up, we have Gentleman Eau de Toilette Intense by Givenchy. Now, this one here basically takes that iris DNA and kind of freshens it up and smooths out the edges a little bit, makes it a little bit more mass-pleasing, focusing a lot more on cypress, some other woods, and toning back some of the, again, the sweetness, and really just making it more digestible for a wider variety of people. And that's not to say that Gentleman Eau de Parfum and all of the others are not mass-pleasing and aren't easy to pull off necessarily, because I would say for the most part when it comes to iris scents, the Gentleman line are really easy to pull off compared to some others out there. But I would say the Eau de Toilette Intense really brings things in a more modern approach with what's being put out today, which is the aromatic and woody and modern and fresh style of scent with a little bit of that sweetness. That's kind of what this one has going. And yeah, it's not a big superstar like Dylan Blue or AVENTUS or anything like that, but it does do very well for itself within the community, and I'm sure it has some reach outside of it as well, given the fact that it is a big people pleaser and it's super easy to pull off. Next up, we have Ferragamo UOMO by Ferragamo, of course. So what is this one all about? Well, it's very, very sweet. So sweet, in fact, that they list off sweet notes as one of the notes in the note breakdown. So I think that tells you everything you need to know. It has a little bit of a chocolatey smell to it, very gourmand leaning, and I'm going to say it one more time, very, very sweet. I always like to make sure that I get that point across because it's not for everybody. You know, this is not your traditional masculine style of scent. And so I love it. I'm into gourmands. I'm into things like this that are a little bit different and unique, and for some, this may be a little bit challenging because of how it is different and has a little bit of a coffee, kind of cappuccino feel to it as well, which I really like. And so I would say this kind of affordable price point here, this $50, combined with the fact that, yes, it is very sweet, but it is also a big people pleaser, it really sent this one very far. I mean, you look all over the place, you see people talking about getting great compliments. You know, it's a gourmand, it kind of gives off that delicious and sexy type of feel. This is the type of thing that captivates people. They smell this and it's something that they maybe haven't smelled before, and so they're intrigued and they want to figure out what it is. So I would say if you have $45, maybe $50, $55 laying around and you want something a little bit more unique and sweet and head-turning for wintertime, this is a fantastic option. It's a great performer too. And following that very sweet trend here, we're going to end the video with Ultra Male by Jean Paul Gaultier. all about the apple, the pear, the vanilla, some lavender in here. So it has a little bit of that original DNA going on with pretty very heavy dose of sweetness over the top. Maybe a little bit of cinnamon as well. And again, maybe even more sweet than Ferragamo UOMO. But you'll see a trend, and these aren't the only two. These overly sweet scents, for whatever reason, have had a huge track record of being compliment destroyers in the fragrance community. I don't know what it is about these, but for whatever reason, they seem to work. And it might even seem counterintuitive because it doesn't really smell masculine. You might think that you would get more compliments from a more masculine scent, but that isn't really the case. I mean, think about it. If you were to wear an old school aromatic fougere or citrus aromatic, something that smells like oak moss and citrus and woods and earth, that's not going to pull compliments in today's day and age like a lot of these other newer style scents that often trend in the very sweet direction. So that's just kind of how it is right now. And so if that's what you're after, you're putting that as your priority, you can go for something like Ultra Male. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for me. In my opinion, these are only popular because they do so well in the mass appeal department. And again, that's not a dig or me ragging on any of these because I love all of these fragrances. I mean, you go look at my channel, I've spoken highly about these for years. But I do honestly think that the whole mass pleasing thing has really sent these to the top. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.